Good evening and welcome to Chicago State University's update program. We're going to update you on our different programs that we had. We've been with you for a few weeks now, and today we're looking.
You're still not on the air.
Oh, good, because I flubbed it. Good evening. And welcome to Chicago State University on CAN TV. We're happy to have with us tonight Mr. George Smith, who is the grant coordinator for the Step Up program for the College of Health Sciences. How you doing, George?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Thank you. So, George, you're a doctorate in education.
That's true.
And you also have a master's of public health.
That is correct.
So tell us about that. Tell us about yourself for a little bit.
So I'm a native of Chicago. Grew up on the far south side of Chicago, and I'm very passionate about increasing people of color, particularly African Americans, into the healthcare field.
Okay.
And so I have over about 25 years of experience in community health / public health, and so I had an opportunity to come to the Chicago State University to serve as the project coordinator for a very special grant that we have, which is called the Partnership to Step Up in Health Careers. It is a federal grant that is called a Health Professions Opportunity Grant.
Okay. So the Step Up program, how long has that program been around?
It's been around since 2011. However, Chicago State officially received the grant September 30th, 2015.
Okay. All right. So even before we get deeper into the Step Up program and the College of Health Sciences, what drew you to the health field?
Well, I have an undergraduate degree in biology and was very interested in helping people.
Okay.
Thought I wanted to be a physician, and then realized, when I was a child many years ago,
Right.
you knew that if you're interested in health, you're either going to be a doctor, a dentist, or a nurse.
Right.
And so I had an opportunity to find out, I think it's one of the most exciting fields, public health. And so got my master's degree in public health and then started working in public health. And so for those of you who are not familiar with public health, one of our core principles is prevention. So we try to educate people to make sure that they have healthy lives. For example, if you are able to maintain a healthy weight, if you're exercising, eating right, then you won't develop diabetes or some other diseases such as cardiovascular disease. So public health does a lot on prevention. I'm very interested in prevention, and I really like working with populations, particularly maternal child health.
And public health, that's kind of a growing field in this.
Well, it is. I think, again, it's one of the great fields, a shameless plug.
Right.
Because Chicago State does have a master's program in public health. But but public health is a very exciting field. I always ask people, tell people when I'm talking with them that public health ensures that we have clean air. It ensures that we have clean and pure water. It makes sure that our children and everyone are immunized. It makes sure that we have correct things going on in the workplace. So public health is really about the public.
Okay. And last piece on that, does food deserts and food insecurity do that?
Yeah, so that falls in public health as well. The public health field was one of the people who sort of at the forefront, particularly talking about food, food deserts and such. But one of the things too that you may or may not know is that late in the 1990s, public health developed that violence was a major health issue. So we were the first. So that's one thing how we look at it because it's population based.
Okay, and particularly how people are looking at violence now.
Correct.
Looking in a more holistic manner.
Definitely.
Yes, sir. So okay, the Step Up program.
Sure.
So again, let's dig deep into this Step Up program. Who is it supposed to benefit?
Okay, this program is designed to help individuals who are low income. We go 200% to poverty level. So basically, give or take, it may change from every year, but a family size of one can't make roughly more than $24,000 a year.
Wow.
And the program is designed to help individuals who are educationally and economically disadvantaged to get into one of the 4 areas that we train in Chicago State within the College of Health Sciences. So that would be community health, health information administration, nursing, and occupational therapy.
Good. Give me those again.
Community health, nursing, occupational therapy, and health information administration.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the website real quick and let's take a look at it so our viewers can see. So this is the website of the College of Health Sciences.
Correct.
And dealing with this Step Up program.
Yes.
Okay, so eligible to participate. What are we looking at here?
So one thing too that I forgot, this is a collaborative relationship. So we
Okay.
work with Metropolitan Family Services with their Calumet and Southwest offices, but we also work with South Suburban College.
Okay.
So to be eligible to participate in our program, you have to be 18 years of age or older. You have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, give or take. And then we also, again, right here it says individuals who meet household income requirements. So we're ideally looking again at individuals who are TANF recipients, which stands for Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. So we're looking at people who really are those who are most economically disadvantaged. And then also we're looking at people who have been not enrolled in post-secondary, meaning someone who has not gone to a college or junior college within over a year.
Okay.
Because we're really trying to get people who have the most challenges. So if you're currently in school and you're on your way to a healthcare career, kind of not good,
Right.
You're doing what you're supposed to do.
So these careers in the health, but what careers is this
Sure.
program preparing students
So
for?
what we're doing right now, we call it the Step Up program. Our goal is to help individuals we realize who may have some challenges to go from one training program to another. So we have something called our short-term programs.
Okay.
Our short-term programs are programs which roughly you can get training in less than maybe 4 or 5 months. So that would be our certified nursing assistant, our community health worker program, as well as our occupational therapy aid program. So those are 3 programs that individuals can choose. But one thing that I forgot to say at the beginning is that this is a research project. So every person who is eligible for it may not be chosen because we do something called random assignment.
Okay.
According to the federal government, they like to use a term called a lottery. Individuals will have to go to an orientation. The orientation is usually about 45 minutes. As a matter of fact, we have, for those who live in Chicago, we have an orientation every Thursday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. at Metropolitan Family Services, which is located 235 East 103rd Street. Again, that's Metropolitan Family Services, Calumet, every Thursday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. at 235 East 103rd Street.
And they have to meet those eligibility requirements.
Yes, so what they do is we go to the orientation so that they can learn more. So we go into what the program is and is not and what it offers. And then if a person is still interested, because this is a research project, we schedule something called an intake.
Okay.
So they would come back, they would bring their documentation, so proof of income, proof of address, and things like that, so that we can make sure that we have their correct information. And then they sit down with one of our case managers and they ask them just a slew of questions that are predetermined, because again, it is a research project. So once it's done, they push a button. If they're placed in our treatment group, they're able to receive all of the services that we provide, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what the services we provide.
Okay.
If they receive what we call a C, they're in the control group, that means that they're unable to participate. So it's random. We don't determine who gets in, we just have to look at their eligibility requirements.
Sure. Okay. So I'm 20 years old,
Okay,
right? I'm going back to school.
okay, sounds like a plan.
Why should I be interested in this program?
Well, because healthcare it begins one of the most, I think, exciting fields, but also it's an emerging industry.
Right.
We all would interface with healthcare, and so our goal is to help people to get into a livable wage. And healthcare is one of the career entities that we have now in which you can get a livable wage. And so again, we try to encourage them to choose. If you like working with people, if you like to see people live healthy lives. But one thing I will say, if you're going to go into healthcare, you have to be compassionate and be understanding of others.
Right.
Because most people interface at the healthcare setting or healthcare settings when they're not at their best. Think about it, if you admitted to the hospital, you're not really feeling good. So
Right.
you have to have compassion and empathy.
And patience.
And patience.
Yeah.
But you also have to be an effective communicator. So.
You said, interesting term, you said a livable wage.
Right, so it all depends. Certified nursing assistants within the state of Illinois roughly can make anywhere from starting out between $12 to $13 an hour.
Okay.
Community health workers, it can vary. Occupational therapy aides, which is something you have to be a certified nursing assistant first, and then you go through a 6-week training program in which we call them restorative aides. Okay. So they work under an occupational therapist and to do some rehabilitative services, kind of limited, but those wages can be anywhere for starting $14 to $15 an hour. But again, it's it's a decent wage based upon, the amount of education and training you receive. So it's an opportunity. But what we call it the Step Up program is because you could step up into some other long-term career programs that we have.
And let's go back to the website.
Right. If you go to the website, you can
And,
see.
and right here on the website, we see, what are we looking at here?
Some of the, so for example, we see the certified nursing assistant and the occupational therapy aide and the community health worker. Those are programs which, again, we call our short-term programs.
Okay.
So those three. Now we have some what we call our long-term programs.
Okay.
And we have the medical assistant, which is roughly a year. The medical assistant and the coding specialist, those are year-long programs which take place at South Suburban College, which is one of our partners, which is located in neighboring South Holland, Illinois.
Okay.
Then we also have some associate degrees. And in the associate degrees that we have the associate degree in nursing, which is at South Suburban College, the occupational therapy assistant, which is at South Suburban College. So we have those two, and then we have a community health worker associate degree, which is at South Suburban College.
Okay, wow.
And so then we also, because we're at Chicago State, which is a major university, which grants baccalaureate degrees, we offer a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. We also offer the Bachelor's of Science in Community Health, the Bachelor's of Science in Health Administration, and then of course we have an RN to BSN completion, and we have the Bachelor's of Science in Pre-Occupational Therapy. So what we're really trying to do with the program is recruit people. We have to do, any person who comes into our program now, they have to do one of our short-term programs. So we're not looking for people who say, oh, I'm ready to go and get an undergraduate degree and I don't want to do a short-term program. Okay. No, because we're called the Step Up program. And we're designed to help people to gain a job, and then we want them to gain education, and then to get a job. And then once those individuals attain employment, we can discuss what their next step will be in a long-term program.
This is very important. So, because we, in the city of Chicago, I know, in the Chicago public school system, over 70% of the students that attend there come from communities that are impoverished.
Yes.
Right? So this program, you're telling me, even a 2-year program, the short-term program, puts them in positions where they can have a livable wage to help pull people out of poverty.
That is true. And one thing that we do in our program, and I guess I spent a little time explaining what we offer.
Okay.
So we do offer tuition assistance. We also offer books, fees, and we do provide some assistance with transportation. We cover the majority of fees. If uniforms are needed, we cover that. And then also we have a team approach. So we have case managers who work with our students. So every student has a case manager. Every student has an academic advisor. And then also we realize that sometimes, we've all been to school before we're students. Sometimes you may need to talk to a counselor, and we have a counselor or clinician on board as well.
Okay, so now I know some people may be listening to this and they may say, I'm interested in the healthcare field, but when they think of healthcare, they may think, I don't have I'm not good in science.
Okay,
so what are the requirements? What do you need to do?
So now that's a good question. It all depends upon what you're looking to do. So one thing you definitely have to, regardless if you're going to healthcare, you have to have basic reading skills, because you're going to have to read, basic math skills, and basic writing skills. So it all depends on what your area of interest. If you're looking at some of the baccalaureate programs or our bachelor programs, you have to take science. For example, nursing, you're going to have to take anatomy. You're going to have to take physiology. You're going to have to take chemistry. You're going to have to take microbiology. But one thing that I can say with this program is that we provide tutoring. So we realize that some people may not be great in sciences, but they can be good.
Okay.
And so, and also, as you know, Dr. Harris, at Chicago State, we do a great job of training people of color, particularly African Americans, in the basic sciences.
Right.
So we have a strong science program at Chicago State, and so we realize that we try to help our students, but I'm going to be somewhat candid and honest. You have to.
No, don't do that.
Well, I am on TV, so it might have some liability issues. But you kind of want individuals, particularly if you're going to be a nurse. And I always tell the story when I'm talking about the importance of math. And I tell a student, I say, if you're a nurse and the physician gives orders that you should give 10 cc's to the patient and you give them 100 cc's because you misunderstood, you've given the patient 10 times more than what they needed.
Right.
And so they go, oh, and I said, well, you have to know basic math because you're dealing with people's lives,
Or
particularly
you be on
if
trial for murder.
well, that's true too, or you get fired, a whole lot of other
Yeah,
things. So,
yeah.
but those are things which I tell students: don't be afraid of math and science,
Right.
or writing, because we do it every day.
Right. Okay. All right. Very good. So how many students are in the program now?
So we currently, to date, we have about 500 people have been enrolled into the program. I mean, those are
Okay.
people who have gone through an orientation and have been randomized into the treatment group.
Okay. And is there a certain number that you all cut off?
We do. We will cut off at 700. So we're still trying to actively recruit. As in with any grant, there is a deadline. Unfortunately, our grant will end September 29th, 2020. But that's why we're here today, to try to tell people that if you're interested in a healthcare career, particularly whether it's a short term or long term, come out. Again, we have orientations every Thursday at Metropolitan Family Services, which is located at 235 East 103rd Street at 10 a.m. and at 5 p.m.
And that's, again, we want to reiterate, the healthcare industry is growing. It's still one of the fastest growing industries in the country.
That's correct.
Right? The public health field is growing.
That is correct.
Right? The community health, focus on community health and all these holistic.
Correct.
Right? All these things are growing. So there's a lot of jobs out there.
There are. So if right here where we're located, we're in one of the largest medical complexes within the world. And so there are major hospitals that are looking for people to provide these types of services. But for example, in community health, not everyone who works in community health will work in a hospital. They
Okay.
work with many what we call community-based organizations.
Right.
So they're out in the community informing, for example, moms about the importance of WIC or encouraging mothers to breastfeed. We also have a number of community health workers who are going out into the community, particularly helping those who may be diabetic. So
Right, making home visits.
home
right?
visits.
Yeah.
And one thing too, and because as you know, in Chicago and many urban areas, we have people who may be trafficked or who may be forced into being sex workers. Many community health workers are individuals who are going out to speak to those people to help them better understand safer sex practices.
Wow. So hold on now. So community health worker
Yes.
will deal also with these people who are in the sex industry.
Yes, because again,
I didn't know.
human trafficking is something that we know is very tragic, and unfortunately, those individuals who fall into that category are susceptible to not only we think of sexually transmitted infections / diseases, but domestic violence, substance abuse. Those are some issues that individuals who are unfortunately in that category fall into, and community health workers can give them information. For example, on again safer sex practices, where they can get services and things like that. If you look at particularly HIV/AIDS, with the needle exchange, a lot of those individuals who are going out into the community will come on community health workers, telling them about proper needle, not to share needles, and how to if you're going to use IV drugs, how to properly use them. Not trying to condone, but just helping people not to become infected and have healthy lives.
Now, let's go back to the website.
Sure.
So students who come into the Step Up program might even be interested in coming into the College of Health Sciences.
Well, actually, if they're admitted into the Step Up program,
Okay.
and they choose some of our, particularly at Chicago State, we offer the Certified Nursing Assistant. But if they choose to, and if they meet the academic requirements, they would be in the College of Health Sciences. So
okay.
every person who comes into the program is technically in the College of Health Sciences, give or take. They may not be a student of Chicago State University. As I stated before, for example, the Community Health Worker Program and the Medical Assistant and the Occupational Therapy Assistant programs are at South Suburban College. So what we do is that we try to collaborate. Because of our geography, we are located on the south side of Chicago, and we have a significant number of students who are from the south side of Chicago as well as the neighboring south suburbs. So it seemed like a win-win for us to collaborate with South Suburban College.
Let's focus for a second the Step Up program benefits.
Yes.
So what is personalized assessment? I think you...
Correct. So, what we do with personalized assessments is that we do something called TABE testing, and I can't. Well, basically, it gives you a testing of your basic reading skills,
Okay.
reading level, your math level, and your English level. We also do some other assessments to see, about people what their interest is, career interest, career interest and such. So we do those. So that's sort of what we mean by personalized assessments.
So there are internships or clinical placements.
Correct. So, for example, if you're going to be a certified nursing assistant, you have to do clinical placement. So we assist with that.
Okay. Assistance with support services.
So we realize that college and post-secondary education can be stressful. We've all
Right.
gone to college before.
Right.
Around midterms and finals, everybody's stressed. So, but also many of our participants have children, or they're taking care of a parent, and so it's kind of hard to juggle. And some of our participants are working. So
Right.
imagine that you have work, you have your family,
Right.
and you have school, and just trying to figure out how to do all of those things, you kind of need some support services. So what we do is we sit down with our participants and help them to develop a schedule. Some people are very good at schedules. Some people never had to schedule things before. They just kind of, I don't want to say willy-nilly, but do as needed. But to be successful in school, you have to have a schedule.
That's right. Job shadowing and mentoring.
Sure. Definitely, we want our students to understand what they're getting into. And so we are beginning to offer the job shadowing and mentoring. But one thing we're also looking at, it may be more so group-wise. If you look at it individualized, may be a challenge because everybody has a schedule.
Right.
Even some of our mentors, they have to work during the daytime. But really, a lot of our job shadowing and particularly some of our mentoring will come when they're doing their clinical placements. But also, too, we have many of our instructors are key players within these fields, so they are always, giving advice, particularly our students who are in the community health worker program. Because of my background in public health, I'm always, encourage them to look at information, make sure they understand what's going on. Sometimes, I think I don't want to say beat them with public health, but I kind of make sure that I want them to know about public health and such.
And the last thing here that is interesting, child care referrals.
So what we do, we don't provide the child care, but we know that for those who may be parents or have or guardians, we will make a referral to agencies that provide those services.
Okay, wow. So you're telling me this is a dynamic program.
Well, I wouldn't say dynamic. I would say really great and very beneficial for those who want to help people, but those who are passionate about moving themselves up.
This really is giving people a step up.
That is correct.
Right.
Hence, that's why we're called the
That's
Step
why
Up program.
Okay, very good. So what else? Is there anything that we're missing that we did not mention that you think maybe?
Well, I realize sometimes I talk fast, but I'm going to leave a telephone number because
Okay.
people may not be able to make it to the orientation sessions, but may have questions. So you can call us at 773-995-3882. Again, that's 773-995-3882. And we can answer any questions that you may have. But again, we have our orientations every Thursday. And I'm just going to mention our Chicago site because majority of people watching the show are residents of Chicago.
Sure.
They happen every Thursday, again in Metropolitan Family Services at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. at 235 East 103rd Street in Chicago. Our South Suburban, as I stated before, South Suburban College is one of our partners. They have orientations every Tuesdays at 10 and 5. However, because we're on CAN TV, I'm assuming the vast majority of our audience are Chicago residents and probably could get to on the south side of Chicago probably quicker.
Now, one thing I did not mention, and that we probably should mention in the last few minutes, could you talk about the faculty?
Sure. So, well, as you know, Chicago State, I call it the academic jewel on the far south side of Chicago. We have key faculty, particularly in community health with health information administration, nursing, and occupational therapy. Those are 4 exciting fields. All of our faculty or staff who interact with our students are certified. Many of the faculty and students many of the faculty who serve as our instructors are people of color. so they understand and can relate to the students and understand some of the challenges that they may have experienced. Overall, generally speaking, with Chicago State University, as you know, we're one of the #1 producers of African Americans of any state institution in granting undergraduate degrees, but also, as we earlier stated, we're one of, I would say, I don't want to have the demographics in front of me, but we're one of the prime producers of African Americans in the sciences. So if you look at our nursing program, this is one thing too that I recently found out. Within our nursing program, within our junior class, we have 10 males. And all of those males are males of color.
Wow,
and
that's
so,
rare.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
And nursing, as I always try to tell everyone, nursing is not. Initially, people thought nursing was very, you had to be female.
Right,
Nursing has evolved, and so nursing is a very rewarding career. Matter of fact, community health is rewarding. It's all interesting into what people are interested in. So I'll just leave with a quote from one of our participants, and this is what the participant stated about our program. She said, "This program is a hidden treasure. Go for it. They will support you along the way, but you will have to do your part to make it work." And thank you so much.
Perfect words to end on. Thank you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you.